Want to know about your relationships and what you look for in a partner in this life? Well, I am here to tell you all about your marriage planet based on astrology. Hi, if you're new here, my name is Hannah and welcome back, Cosmic Warriors. Before we do dive into today's video, if you want to learn more about astrology, then head on over to the Cosmic Check-In podcast. And if you would like to book a reading with me, then go to hannahselsewhere.com. I hope you enjoy the video. Let's do this. Okay, so before we start, I want to know, which house is your 7th house ruler in? Let us know in the comment section. Also, there is a quick free guide on how to locate it down below. But the 7th house, let's talk about the 7th house in astrology. The 7th house can tell us a thing or two about how you approach relationships, the kinds of partners you attract, and the ways you cooperate. The type of wedding you decide to have as well, that's just my personal opinion. Do you decide to get married at all, right? What are your sort of attitudes towards marriage as a whole? Perhaps you experience a divorce, which is very likely given the divorce rates today. Equally, how you disagree within relationships or how you handle conflict, the types of people who piss you off, get under your skin. We think about open enemies, competitors. See, the 7th house acts as a massive mirror. It is an area of life that speaks to reflection and projection. Times when we see ourselves in others and times when we don't. But then it's also how we react to that. So we may later discover that we were projecting onto another person whenever we say, oh, I don't like that thing about that person. But then also how others project onto us, right? When it's not about us, it's about them. There's a back and forth, right? Therefore, this is about looking within ourselves and identifying with our shadow. What is the other trying to teach us so we can become more whole? It is also a house of business, contracts, agreements, settlements. So, how do we do business? Who do we collaborate with? What are your reviews like? What's the feedback you receive from your clients, from your customers? Which kinds of deals do you prefer? And what is your overall experience like within partnerships? Now today, we will focus primarily on your relationships and marriage. So on that note, let's get into it. If your 7th house ruler resides in the 1st house in your chart, you tend to come off as pretty relationship orientated, as someone who seeks to get along with everyone, or as someone who prefers peace and harmony amongst others. Perhaps you are conflict avoidant, or you often step in to try and manage conflict when it arises. And so, a key lesson here for you is identifying with this part of you to see how healthy or unhealthy it is. A goal of yours may be to marry one day, and if married, to stay married. And even if you experience a divorce, you'll be reasonable about it. I think you value also your independence. So whilst you can be in a relationship, you also really value your independence, your individuality. And so you'll put yourself first when necessary. Or it could be that your partners, they play a massive role in your life, right? You might deeply value their opinion, or it could even be that you behave a little bit like your partner. You behave in a similar way. Now, this, of course, does depend on the planet and sign, because someone with Capricorn on the 7th house and then Saturn and Cancer in the 1st, well, they might get married later on in life, or they might marry with the intention of raising a family. And at the same time, they could experience trials and tribulations along the way, setbacks, obstacles. Perhaps marriage is just set up even through the family line. But then take someone like myself with Pisces on the 7th house and then Jupiter in Virgo in the 1st. And you meet your future spouse or partner at work or whilst you're out and about doing your own thing. Your spouse might actually be quite productive and work focused. If the 7th house ruler resides in the 2nd house for you, you tend to be security focused when it comes to choosing a spouse or a partner, a committed partner, right? Aware of the financial side of things, perhaps. Therefore, you most likely won't marry someone who doesn't have their finances in order. Then again, due to the 7th house having this unconscious element, perhaps you're also learning about the importance of financial stability. For instance, this can manifest as you being overly reliant on your spouse for money, or marrying solely for the financial gain, or depending on your spouse to define what your spending habits are. Naturally, yes, it could also show up as you being on the same page financially, feeling stable and secure with your significant other, creating a life together, right? Wanting to build wealth together. Maybe even doing business with one another, right? Or if you do end up getting a divorce, you'll make sure to have your own finances in order. This also, of course, depends on the planet and sign. So someone with Aries on the 7th house and then Mars and Scorpio in the 2nd, they might be very determined and focused when it comes to financial matters within their relationships. Great at managing any debts, costs, repayments. Then take someone with Leo on the 7th with Sun and Pisces in the 2nd. Well, they might be much more go with the flow and romantic. If your 7th house ruler resides in the 3rd house in your chart, you could very well meet your spouse or your partner whilst out and about. Maybe whilst taking a short distance trip somewhere or running everyday tasks. I get that this is very rare nowadays, right? But hey, you know what? On that note, this could manifest as you meeting your spouse via social media, right? On a dating app, which is more probable. That's more common. And also, your spouse could be studious, chatty, intelligent, really, really interesting. Someone who never runs out of things to inform you about. Your partner also teaches you about the importance of communication. Maybe that's really key within your relationship. Perhaps they introduce you to interesting new people they know, so maybe their friends, neighbors, relatives, etc. Or you meet your partner through a childhood friend or through your sibling, through your cousin. Exploring and going on trips together is preferred. More so short trips, yes, or just knowing that they are nearby is important to you. And as well, if there is a breakdown of communication, that is really when you'll question the marriage, you'll question the relationship. This depends on the planet and sign, yes. So someone with Taurus on the 7th house with Venus and Capricorn in the 3rd, maybe you prefer more soothing, poetic partners, you attract artists, and you're more about longevity, commitment, taking things slow. Or take someone with Libra on the 7th with Venus and Gemini in the 3rd, much different energy. Maybe you are more lighthearted, spontaneous, playful. You attract designers or writers. Maybe you get married more than once, possibly even more than twice. If the 7th house ruler resides in the 4th house for you, You are family orientated about marriage and relationships, preferring to marry someone who you can raise a family with, perhaps. Now, this could also manifest as you moving in with your partner before marriage or living with your partner's family for a period of time, right? Maybe you even relocate early on, or you and your spouse, you move. You might also learn about your partner's heritage, their culture, or you prefer to keep your relationship life private, very much private. You and your spouse could be massive homebirds. You also just love to cozy up and spend time together that way. Or quite possibly, you start a family business, which includes your spouse and other family members. Yes, this does depend on the planet and sign. So someone with Virgo on the 7th and then Mercury in Gemini in the 4th, well, their relationship might involve having a couple of different locations they stay in, or they jump between two family circles or homes. But then take someone with Sagittarius on the 7th house with Jupiter in Virgo in the 4th. Their relationship might involve long distance travel, relocating to a different country as soon as they marry. Moving on to if your 7th house ruler resides in your 5th house in your chart. You seek to experience fun and pleasure and entertainment with your spouse or your partner, to be big kids together. Or it's that you take a chance on love. Marriage itself might feel like a bit of a gamble. I suppose it is, right? Or it's that you follow your heart. Or you choose a spouse to raise children with, very specifically. Still, you must feel special, seen, and appreciated by your spouse. If you don't, this is when issues can arise. Perhaps you enjoy it when your spouse shows you off or puts you in the spotlight, right? They show just how proud of you they are. Maybe you seek to be showered with gifts and shown plenty of affection and love, or it's that you simply want to do playful things together. Dating is important to you, even if you have been with each other for years. Of course, this depends on the planet and the sign. So, for example, someone with Scorpio on the 7th house with Mars and Virgo in the 5th, they might be very particular about the activities they do with their spouse. Or before they even consider marriage or a long-term relationship, their spouse or their partner must tick all the right boxes. But then take someone with Aquarius on the 7th, with Saturn in Sagittarius in the 5th. Maybe your marriage is slightly more unconventional, with a greater desire for freedom and independence. Traveling is something you enjoy with your spouse. Moving on to the 7th house ruler residing in your 6th. So this is where we notice how your spouse, your partner, is quite a workaholic or a work-orientated person. They are productive, efficient, chore-focused, hygienic, orderly, health-conscious. Basically, they are always caught up in their everyday activities, tasks, and responsibilities. They always seem to have a solution for almost anything you throw at them. They continuously try to fix and mend things. They are someone you can call when you need something sorted. Then again, there could be issues due to work commitments here, such as your partner spending too much time working, neglecting the relationship, being too stiff at times about schedules. There could be a lack of spontaneity. Equally though, this could also manifest as you being work driven, or this could manifest even as them having a few health issues, such as them needing some time off work to get better. Maybe also you have pets together. You love animals. Maybe you need like an animal lover in order to be in a relationship in the first place. It's sort of as if to say, if we are to get married, we need to have pets. Or, you know what? It could be that you work together, You work together. Maybe you even meet in work. You meet through coworkers, connections that way. Yes, this does depend on the planet and the sign. So someone with Aquarius on the 7th, with Uranus and Capricorn in the 6th, it seems there are a few shocks and surprises that play out within your spouse's life, such as health or work changes. Or someone with Pisces on the 7th and then Jupiter in Aquarius on the 6th, travel could be a big part of your spouse's life. They might travel for work, or you support your travels work, or your partner's work. You support the fact that your partner travels. Maybe you even offer to help them. I hope you are enjoying this video so far, and if you are, then please be sure to subscribe if you have not already, and to give the video a like. And if you would like to learn more about astrology, then you can always pick up a copy of my astrology cheat sheets. Thank you so much. The links are down below. Moving on to the 7th house ruler residing in the 7th. Your spouse or your partner basically acts as a huge mirror in your life. They have so much to teach you about yourself, about your removed qualities and traits, the parts of yourself you might not be aware of. Naturally, this can play out in many different ways, such as you disagreeing or refusing to see what your partner sees in you, or you projecting onto your spouse projecting onto you, but you don't realize that it's happening. Furthermore, you are a relationship-oriented person, someone who seeks another half, so to speak, or you have desires to get married or to commit. And if you do, you'll take that commitment seriously. Equally, however, this can also show up as divorce or separation. Spouses could turn into enemies, or enemies into spouses, my goodness. Yes, this does depend on the planet and the sign. So someone with Capricorn on the 7th, with Saturn in Capricorn there, they might be more committed. They take marriage very seriously. They commit with reason, intention, and security. But then take someone with Cancer in the 7th, with the moon in Cancer there. Yes, marriage for them is security and family orientated, but there is a great focus on emotional comfort and support. Now, if your 7th house ruler resides in the 8th house for you, okay, so this is where we see the depth and the intimacy involved within your relationships, and how your spouse, how your partner transforms your life. And even though you might not say it all of the time, you feel it. You feel it. You feel how strongly the love you have for your partner is, the bond you experience, how deeply you care about them. Equally, however, this feeling could scare you. It could scare you. We notice just how the closeness of your bond brings up a lot of fear. So for instance, there could be fears regarding your spouse dying, or something terrible happening to them, or fearing that things will end with them, okay? Your spouse as well, or your partner, could trigger you greatly, for better or for worse. Whatever the case, you transform. You become a new version of yourself when you commit or when you marry. Perhaps you even receive money through your partner. They come into a significant amount of wealth, which you also share with them. Plus, you go through major upheavals throughout your relationship or your marriage. So I'm talking about loss and death, financial struggles, lies, people trying to interfere with the strength of your bond. Now, for many of you, you make it through, right? And you become resilient as a couple. You trust each other even more. But then for others of you, the endings of your relationship can leave you feeling very low. Either way, you experience a death and a rebirth within your relationships. This does depend on the planet and the sign. So for example, someone with Taurus on the 7th, with Venus in Gemini in the 8th, their bond is strengthened by healthy communication with their spouse. They attract steady, and central partners. But then take someone with Virgo on the 7th, with Mercury and Libra in the 8th. Communication is also key, right? But it's also about compromise, sharing, being mindful about the exchange of kind gestures within the relationship. Moving on to your 7th house ruler residing in the 9th house in your chart. Well, your relationships seem to involve travel in some way, shape, or form. Whether this be you meeting your spouse abroad, meeting them at university, meeting online, and then using a faraway destination to get together, or deciding traveling together is just a big part of your bond. Perhaps also they are of a different culture and background. Maybe they are a teacher, a mentor, a professor, or you look up to them in many ways. Perhaps you even marry in a different country, or you spend a ton of your time together in a different destination. The marriage must feel like an adventure. Then again, we could also look at this as you deciding not to get married for freedom reasons, or because you just don't see the point in marriage, in the marriage contract. Yes, this also does depend on the planet and the sign. So someone with Capricorn on the 7th and then Saturn and Pisces in the 9th, well, they could very well have their dream wedding in a different country. Or they are quite dreamy about their relationships. But then again, this is also about certain lessons that they are to learn about being overly idealistic. But then take someone with Libra on the 7th, with Venus in Sagittarius in the 9th. They can be very adventurous with their spouse, going here, there, and everywhere as a couple. Now, if your 7th house ruler resides in the 10th house in your chart, right off the bat, this is where we see the possibility of marrying for status, marrying wealthy partners, and actively choosing a spouse based on their accomplishments, their achievements, their power. Or this can manifest as you marrying someone who is very driven, they are career oriented, they run a business, or they are an authority within their chosen field. Maybe you even meet your spouse through their work whilst they are on duty. Or this could look like you pushing to truly succeed within the relationship, setting long-term goals together, committing to a plan, being in it for the long haul. You might also respect your spouse a great deal, or it is important to you that respect is present within your relationship. You might also showcase your relationship online, sharing your relationship on social media. Of course, this does depend on the planet and the sign. So someone with Gemini on the 7th, with Mercury and Virgo in the 10th, they might be more selective about what they share publicly about their relationship, or they are very specific about what commitments and responsibilities they have within the relationship. Or someone with Cancer on the 7th, with Moon and Libra in the 10th, for them, image is everything. Moving on to the 7th house ruler residing in your 11th, well, your spouse or your partner must also be your friend. Or it's that you start off being friends and then eventually you date, then you get married. You might even meet through friends, through common friends, within a group, within a club, a team of some kind. You also must be on the same page future-wise, as if your hopes and wishes for the future align as a couple. Maybe you meet your partner through, like I was saying, those similar social circles, or even you meet online. Or even it could be that if you divorce and you go your separate ways, perhaps you prefer to still remain friends. It could also be that you align when it comes to your political, social, and environmental views. Perhaps you even have debates about global events and how the world is run. Now, this also depends on the planet and the sign. So someone with Pisces on the 7th, with Jupiter and Cancer on the 11th, well, this could indicate a blessed marriage in this person's future where they feel safe. Feeling emotionally supported is important to them. But then take someone with Aries on the 7th, with Mars and Leo in the 11th. Relationships for them are much more feisty and spontaneous, comprised of play, fighting, and teasing. All right, so lastly, if the 7th house ruler resides in your 12th house, this one is quite challenging. And I feel empathy for those with this placement. But when it comes to finding a partner, getting married, there is a struggle present, such as getting hurt, being cheated on, finding it difficult to find someone who aligns with you, confusion surrounding relationships that last, lack of commitment, fears of commitment. You might make up stories about why you're so undeserving and unlovable. Or it is challenging to really connect with your spouse. Perhaps you have certain expectations that are unattainable. Yet, this is also where we see the spiritual guidance when it comes to marriage and relationships. So, the trust that you have and how you imagine things to be. This is where it is important not to tangle yourself up in another, not to absorb them. It is also important to be honest with yourself about what is not working within the relationship, seeing that it is not up to you to save or rescue the other person. Yes, this also does depend on the planet and the sign. Someone with Aquarius on the 7th, with Saturn in Capricorn in the 12th, this could be where you get involved with emotionally unavailable partners, even though deep down you crave that closeness and that connection. But then take someone with Scorpio on the 7th and then Mars and Aries in the 12th. This could be where a few things can hold you back. And so this is about learning to be upfront and honest about what you want instead of things exploding later on. To share quickly, using the Placidus system, Jupiter resides in the 12th house for me, and Pisces does rule my 7th house. And I can empathize. I get the struggles of the 7th house ruler residing in the 12th, but I am equally thankful for the inner work that I have performed over recent years. Okay then, Cosmic Warriors, so that concludes today's video all about your marriage planet. I hope you have found the video, the information presented today to be helpful and that you learned something new. If you did, you can always buy me a coffee and make sure to subscribe for more if you haven't already. Give the video a like if you enjoyed the video today. Stay tuned for more and I will catch you in the next one. Bye!